City Council meeting for July the 11th to order. At this time, I'm going to ask Councilman Olds to say the prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day you've given us and many blessings. Father, we just ask you lead and guide us through this meeting, through this business for this city, and for all those who live and reside here and those that serve us. We thank you for everything you bestow upon us. In Christ's name we pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Every month at the first council meeting, it gives us a great deal of pleasure to recognize all the new employees at the city and welcome them to Team Charleston and remind them, how important it is to serve, and at the same time remind them how much the community as well as the mayor and council appreciate what they do. So as I read your name, if you'd come up front and just make a line so you could be recognized, it would be appreciated. From the police department, Melody Mack, Joshua Pierce, Quanika Simmons. From the fire department, Matthew Dandridge, Peyton Gibson, Daryl Green, Sean Kenneth, Brandon Kubik, David Nesbitt, Sarah Smith, Andrew Thomas, Dwayne Green, Jonathan Layfield, Kevin Lobbin, Nicholas Marish, Gregory Swartz. From Code Enforcement, David Turner. And from Human Resources, Sean Freese. Again, let me be the first to welcome you on behalf of the Mayor and City Council to your opportunity here with the City of North Charleston. We appreciate your service, look forward to everything that you do, and hope that you have a fantastic and long career here at the city. If you want to turn around and recognize the council members here, the mayor likes to say those are the people that approve your raises. So it's always good to see, who's in charge of that. But again, we thank you very much for your service and wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much. And y'all are also welcome to leave if you want to. You don't have to stay through the whole meeting. So I know that's important. Next, we have a presentation to Mr. Reuben Potts, and I'm going to ask Mr. Joseph Wright if he would come forward.
I don't know how to do this thing, but I'm going to do my best. Council members, on behalf of the Agaby community, we wanted to present to Officer Potts and recognize him for outstanding service in our community. We can always call on him. He can't come, he sends somebody. And we want to show our appreciation. We got this little plaque here to present to Officer Potts.
Yes, sir.
This is the plaque. Thank you, Officer Potts. And talking about our appreciation. When you get home now, you want to get home.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Let her get a good picture, y'all. Maybe on Facebook. How about that?
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, sir.
just want to say thank you also for, that's District 10, Officer Pott was in. I think it was 8 years he did there in District 10, a great job, which is community recognized. I want to say thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
It's always an honor, especially when the community recognizes someone in that capacity. Oftentimes, we forget what they do for us, and it's nice to see that somebody actually got recognized. So, congratulations. With that, we'll move on to the printed agenda.
You have before you the minutes of June 27th. Are there any errors, omissions, or objections?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown? Aye. Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Skipper?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is a final reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a lease between the City of North Charleston and the Feder Health Clinic at 2050, 2053, and 2055 Comstock Street for their facility and adjacent parking.
Move to approve.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Skipper?
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is an ordinance for final reading to approve the sale of .44 acres of unopened right-of-way and drainage ditch located off Sproul Avenue for the pro rata appraised value of $4,220 to Firefly, North Charleston.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Skipper?
Aye.
The next item is an ordinance for final reading to approve the sale of, oh, that must be on here twice. Sorry. Is a first reading of an ordinance adopting a bill to be entitled an annexation ordinance of the City of North Charleston, annexing an area known as 3353-D in Charleston County, identified as TMS number 41007, parcel 42 in Council District 5.
Move for approval.
We need a second.
I said move to.
Oh,
One of
okay.
us second.
Okay.
Whoever you want.
All right, I got Mr. Jerome and Mr. Olds.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Skipper?
Aye.
The next item is an ordinance for first reading authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute any and all documents necessary and approve to grant easements to all. Are we on the right one?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. This packet is all messed up. We're going to go by the book. So the book is an ordinance rezoning properties addressed as 2003 and 2005 Fuller Street, identified as Charleston County number 472-16, parcels 214 and 217, from R1 Single Family Residential to B2 General Business, and a concurrent amendment to the Comprehensive Plan's future land use map designation for those same parcels, changing from Single Family Traditional to Major Business Retail in Council District 7.
Good
Good evening. We have a proposed rezoning request at 2003 and 2005 Fuller Street. The existing zoning's R1 Single Family Residential, and the proposal is to rezone it to B2 General Business. It's approximately a total of 58,000 square feet in Council District 7. There's an aerial view of the property along Fuller Street, and you can see parcel 214 fronts out on Rivers Avenue. And there's a zoomed out version of the property there in the Ferndale neighborhood. The proposed rezoning request is to rezone it from R1 Single Family Residential to B2 General Business, shown in the red there on the map. And the rezoning would require a map amendment to the future land use map, changing it from single family traditional to major business retail, again shown in red on the map. The subject parcels are contiguous pieces of property in the Ferndale neighborhood. However, only one parcel has frontage on Fuller Street, and the other parcel runs the length of the block with frontage on Rivers and Piedmont Avenue. The applicant has requested the property be rezoned from R1 to B2, which would change the zoning of parcel 217 and would unify the zoning on parcel 214. Commercial zoning in this location would represent an expansion of commercial activity into the neighborhood, which the neighborhood residents have opposed over the years. The comprehensive plan's future land use map designates the properties as single-family traditional and major business retail with the split following the zoning boundaries. An amendment to the future land use map would be required. Given the desire to maintain the residential character internal to Ferndale and the fact that the requested zoning is not supported by the future land use map, staff is recommended denial, and the Planning Commission is also recommending denial.
Are there any questions from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir.
Before we vote on this, I think that we have something that is pending, and I would like to hear from the neighborhood council president. She is here at this time.
It would be referred to the public safety meeting next Thursday.
Okay, all
And they'll
right.
have an opportunity at that point.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, again, it'll be referred to the Public Safety Committee meeting next Thursday.
The next item is an ordinance for first reading, rezoning properties addressed as 7251 and 7263 Mezque Road, identified as Charleston County TMS numbers 478-02, parcels 20 and 34, from R2 multifamily residential to B2 general business, and a concurrent amendment to the comprehensive plan futures land use map designation for those same parcels, changing from institutional and redevelopment priority to major business retail.
Okay, we have a rezoning request at 7251 and 7263 Mezque Road. The existing zoning's R2 multifamily, and the request is for B2 general business, and it's in Council District 2. There you have an aerial of the properties along Mezque Road and a zoomed out version of the area. The proposed rezoning request is to rezone the properties from R2 multifamily residential, shown in the map on orange, to B2 general business. And the rezoning would require an amendment to the future land use map designation, changing it from redevelopment priority institutional to major business retail. The subject parcels are located on Mezque Road, just south of the Ashley Phosphate Road I-26 interchange. The applicant's applying for a rezoning from R2 to B2, which would allow commercial redevelopment, including hotels, multifamily housing, department stores, and restaurants, among others, to expand further down Mezque Road. The properties individually meet all of the requirements for B2 zoning, and the comprehensive plan's future land use map would need to be amended to major business retail to support the rezoning. The property is sandwiched between the interstate interchange, that's a popular sleep destination for tourists, and a warehousing facility. The residential properties across the street are Zone B1 limited business, and there is limited interconnectivity into residential areas along Mezque Road. Based on the adjacent land uses and zoning, the isolation of the properties in the transportation network, and the proximity to a major interstate interchange, staff has recommended approval, and the Planning Commission is also recommending approval.
Are there any questions from council?
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, ma'am.
I will not be here for committee next week because we'll be out of town, but I did want the council to know that the owners of this property, or the owners wanting to rezone the property, has met with the neighborhood, and the neighborhood is in support of this rezoning. So since I won't be there next week, I just want to make sure y'all knew.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Any other items from council? If not, it'll
Thank
be.
you.
Thank you. If not, it'll be referred to Public Safety Committee meeting next Thursday.
The next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute any and all documents necessary and appropriate to grant easements to all the necessary service utilities for the new North Charleston parking deck.
Move approval.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Skipper.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute any and all documents necessary and appropriate to grant easements to all necessary service utilities for the new North Charleston Gym Complex.
Move for approval.
Approval, second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Jerome?
Aye.
Ms. Jamison?
Aye.
Mr. Brinson?
Aye.
Mr. Olds?
Aye.
Mr. Hart?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Brown?
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Skipper.
Aye.
The next item is our first speaker, Mr. Anthony G. Bryant.
My apologies for coming so late. This is an article written on me by Tony Bartlemy many years ago when I was an activist. On June 24, 2019, the Supreme Court of the United States, Scott S. Harris, the ultimate clerk, deemed my reputation in good standing. I went to college in Maryland, the D.C. area. I worked in co-op in Georgetown. So therefore, there's a discrepancy in terms of my name under Rule 17 of the Supreme Court rules, 18 of the Supreme Court rules, possibly 20 of the Supreme Court rules. I majored in political science at Morgan, and I have a clear understanding in terms of my rights regarding this. In terms of the Attorney General of the state, that I have a social media, there's no social media component of the Justice Department, none. There's none for SLED, there's none. So therefore, how can you deem equal protection and due process to people when you don't even have it at all? Then I served on the BZA close to 10 years regarding the issue of telecommunication towers and its equal protection and due process necessary due to process. So I'm deeply disappointed in terms of that. I also made a public comment in 1989. I drive my car from Maryland 30 years ago to Charleston and driving while black. And I made a public comment, the notice of intent to reappoint incumbent United States Magistrate Judge, an invitation to comment on Kamani D. West downtown regarding the U.S. Marshal's Office and their handling of records of citizens in this country. There's 1,000 people named Anthony Bryant in this country online, 1,000. And therefore, under Article 4 relations amongst the states, which is records, acts, judicial proceedings, we're in conflict with that. Also, Homeland Security across the street with their issues, what they're posting online, their issues, and also other issues going on. So we're talking about dissent, we're talking about protection and due process as a premise that I will be working on. Regardless of who the governor is, the mayor is, city council is, doesn't matter. Equal protection and due process is due to every citizen and must be upheld by the courts of this country. Thank you for your service and time.
Thank you very much for your comments.
The next speaker is Mr. Neil Bailey.
My name is Neil Bailey, and I'm here on behalf of Cinnamon Pines neighborhood. I have some pictures before I start speaking. I would like to give the council members so you people can see exactly what the problem is that we have. I'll pass them out.
I don't need
this may be the second or third time I've been here and spoke to some people. Someone had deterred this truck traffic to the neighborhood, some council member, whoever. But now they're spotting back. And you can see in the pictures this truck, and there's a small child over on the side. And as you look to the right of that child, you see that these trucks are coming into the neighborhood, making a U-turn. You can even see the rubber on the roads and the trucks. There's continuous circles being made. They have signs that says no through trucks. Well, they're not doing through now. They come to this cul-de-sac and turn around going back out. But the danger that these trucks are presenting to the neighborhood community needs to stop. And I don't know how to do it. I talked to everybody. This is my third time here. I'll continue the fun before somebody gets killed. The only other thing I'd like to ask you people is there's a car wash on Rivers Avenue called the Riz. Been there since I was 5 years old. The customers have this high volume of boom, boom. And when you're in your house or outside trying to enjoy yourself, you get boom, boom, boom. And I need a council member to step up and ask these people, please stop this. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that's why I'm here. And thank all of you all for your help.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
When you say boom, are you referring to music or it's a loud noise from the machine?
It's the bass.
Oh,
The
the bass.
bass. The customers,
Oh, radio, okay.
the customers come and vacuum the automobiles prior to getting them washed. And they turn, "Yeep," and I can sit in my house and it will vibrate my windows. I'm about 400 yards from it. The people closer to it, I don't know how they stand it. We have a rapport with these people at this car wash, but sometimes the rapport is good and sometimes it's not. So I'm asking for the powers to be, to speak up for our community and say, hey, settle down a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before council? Hearing nothing, the meeting is adjourned.